The calendar system is a mechanic within video games that is rarely ever seen. This is something that for the most part is seen as a deterrent to games. When people hear about the use of a calendar or managing your time, they very often are turned away from the title. But for me, there's nothing more immersive a video game can do than implement a calendar system and have a life sim aspect on some scale. The main series that does this to perfection is the Persona series. One of the major selling points and gameplay aspects here is the life sim. Going to school, forming relationships, managing your skills and growing them, all while balancing the dungeon crawling side of the game along with the main plot. So what makes this so immersive? How do they handle it better than other titles? And what games would benefit from this mechanic or merely be fun to see attempt? Before we get into that though, if you guys do enjoy this video, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe as we are trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. But with that being said, let's get right into it. The Persona franchise is my favorite of all time. Every single time I've beat one of these games, I'm just left with the emptiest feeling inside, wondering if I'll ever experience something on the same level again. I become so attached to the world and all aspects of it. I would always wonder, why do these games resonate with me so much more compared to other franchises that I also love? And of course, there are a wide range of reasons, but for this video, we are focusing on the calendar system and the life sim. You truly live in this world. There's no way to prolong the time you have, there's a set date the game will end, and you simply live each day until that moment arrives. You are able to do one activity during the day and one at night. These moments are interrupted with story beats that take up a wide range of days throughout the game. Along with that, you will have deadlines to complete certain story missions by, so you have to manage your time and try to complete everything possible in the most efficient manner. The reason I believe the system works so well is because of one major aspect, and that is the story occurring throughout the game. There is no way to speedrun the main plot and ignore the life sim. That is ingrained into the experience. If an event takes place on September 5th, you will wait for that day to arrive. Each day could have some new story beat or event that you weren't ready for. No matter how many times you play the game, the story beats will occur on the same day. I think that ingrains into the player the feeling of this being such a lived-in world. Time moves on its own and you can't do anything about that. In every other title or RPG, you are given a quest and you can decide when you want to do it. They could say this is urgent and needs to be done right away, but you could spend the next 50 hours doing other things. I'm not trying to say that it is inherently bad, basically every game does that. But that's what makes Persona so special. These are 100-hour plus titles, so you would think the game isn't linear. Which makes sense, but in actuality, Persona is very linear. You can't pick and choose when events in the game occur. What you are able to control is the time you have around those predetermined days. Just like life itself, you have to manage the time given to you and plan accordingly. I believe Persona is one of the most immersive experiences because of this aspect, and more games need to engage with the concept. Because clearly it works. Persona is one of the biggest JRPG franchises ever. People fall in love with this life sim concept. It's even seen in other games, but these are more farming sims like Stardew Valley and titles along those lines. I think people get a warped idea when they hear time management and calendar systems, as they feel as if they are being rushed and can't enjoy all the content offered to them. Which is understandable, as some titles engage with that idea, and I believe that for most cases, it's a negative experience for a video game. I just spent the past few minutes talking about how I believe Persona nails the concept of time management within a video game, and truly makes it one of the most immersive experiences out there because of it. Now, on the flip side, there are games that I believe have the opposite effect on a player's experience. These are the titles that place a time limit on you. The ones that say you have 30 hours to do this, and if you don't, you fail, or you have 10 days to complete this, and that equates to X amount of hours, and it's a perpetually ticking clock. This creates the opposite effect that games like Persona have. In those, you have a set amount of activities you can do each day. There's no looming time limit trying to speed you up. Even with the deadlines, you can spend as much time on each day. You are just only allowed to do a day activity and a night one. With a time limit, the only feeling it brings is restraint, because you're trying to do everything as fast as possible so you complete the mission in time. This does not allow you to get immersed. all it does is restrict the player from a full experience. The main title that I know does this is Fallout 1. Now, the time limit here is not an extreme one where you really feel as if you're under pressure. But the concept still applies. If you do not complete this goal by this day, you fail. In Fallout 1, you need to find a water chip by a specific day, and if you are unable to do so, the water supply of the vault runs out. Then there is a secondary time limit in the next half of the game, but that was extended to an amount in patches that is basically pointless to even have the system now. But either way, I think time limits are a very hard thing to perfect and implement properly. And I think the biggest issue comes with the consequence of failing. How far do you send them back? Do they have to restart the game? Can they even complete it in the time you send them back to? You need to create a consequence that is not too extreme for the player. Because say you have even just a 10-hour limit. Most people would not want to restart that entire thing to do it again. It's just not worth it in the first place. I think Persona handles it very well with their deadlines throughout the game. You get given anywhere around like 20 to 30ish in-game days to complete different dungeons by this deadline. And if you fail, you get sent back about a week in-game time, which is not bad at all. And the dungeons themselves are not that time consuming to complete. At least for Persona though, there's never gonna be a situation where you fail to meet the deadline unless you do something dumb. The deadline feels like it's more there for narrative purpose than actual gameplay purpose, which I'm completely fine with. But the gameplay still does matter, as you have to determine if you want to focus on social aspects or the dungeons when these deadlines arise. I always think these counter systems or time limits are more engaging narrative-wise than gameplay. It's somewhat immersion breaking if there's this looming thing that is about to happen, but you can just roam around doing whatever as if nothing is going on. Or if something terrible just happened in the story, but the next second you're in the open world again and can just do whatever. It's a hard line to navigate, but again, in Persona, during certain arcs of the game, certain characters won't be able to hang out with you because of what happened to them. Or if there is some looming mission, your cast won't hang out with you saying, we should do this first before anything else. The narrative takes focus and affects the day-to-day life around you. The mechanics, when done correctly, make an amazing world to engage with that actually feels alive. Now for the last topic I want to talk about in this video, we are going to look at some games that I think could have benefited from some of these mechanics being implemented. Now, there are two games that I'm going to bring up that I would have liked to see play around with these gameplay aspects. One of these titles I think would have massively improved it, and the other one is more on the line of, I would like to see what it would be like. The first game is Hogwarts Legacy. I can't think of a better IP, a better game, to practically copy what Persona does. All Harry Potter fans want to do is experience Hogwarts. You don't really get to do that at all in Hogwarts Legacy, which is fairly disappointing. I think they recreated Hogwarts brilliantly, and exploring it is awesome, but you don't really feel as if you get to live in it at all. There are barely any students you get to interact with. It was one of my biggest complaints about the game. I wanted Hogwarts and that school life to be a bigger focus. And what better series to look towards for inspiration than Persona? You go to the classes, and these could be 100 times more engaging since it's classes at Hogwarts. So defense against the dark arts, potions, herbology, these could be fleshed out so much more than what they were in the game. We could have clubs you could join, build friendships with a wide range of people at the school. Picking different houses would have you meet different people, all while trying to engage with the bigger plot of the game. It would be an unbelievable experience on all fronts, and it's unfortunate because I highly doubt we will ever see something like this. Especially since it was the best-selling game of the year when it came out, they are not going to radically change anything for the inevitable sequel. But I can't imagine many more enjoyable concepts than a fully fleshed out Hogwarts experience. But the second game I want to speak about is Cyberpunk 2077. This one I would want to see engage with a calendar system. My idea behind the calendar system is that in this game, we know that V is dying. So I think it would be really cool if we were given a specific date on when they were going to die, and we play the game building up to that inevitable date. And we could play around with similar ideas of Persona, of doing a certain amount of activities in the day, and the same during night, and certain missions having to be done at those different times. We could get different jobs within Night City to make some extra money on the side. hanging out with the side characters like Panam, Judy, etc. on specific days when they're available. I think it could just make Cyberpunk an even more immersive experience than it already is, especially since Night City is one of the best settings in gaming. I would love to feel even more lived in the world, and I believe the calendar system would do that. And I think this would create even more tension to V's slow buildup of their inevitable death, which would be a really interesting thing to explore how they could handle that idea within a calendar system, and the story beats taking place on specific days, you going down different paths that change the missions you get. It would be awesome to explore not even just for Cyberpunk, but any large-scale RPG. I think the calendar and life sim gameplay mechanics are some of the most underutilized systems out there. The fact that we have barely any major franchises use it is so sad to me, because I believe there are so many interesting concepts and ideas you could explore within the system, like the ones I talked about in the video, and so many more. I think it is the gameplay mechanic that brings the most immersion out of a game for me, and would love to see it implemented more. Comment below what you think of the system and any other titles that should explore this mechanic. If you guys did make it to the end of today's video, thank you so much for watching. Your support means the absolute world to me. If you did enjoy today's video, it would mean a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe, as we are trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. Again, thank you guys so much for your support. I will see you in the next video, and God bless.